Welcome, everyone, to the captive audience. It is the 16th of December in the year of our Lord 2025. And I'm here with our Florida correspondent. Actually, where is Jeff Reynolds relative to you, Sonny? He's up in the Panhandle, right?
He is northwest of me.
So you are approximately where? You're like Central Florida?
No, they call it South Florida, and we're a couple hours south of Orlando. Just actually, I think about an hour and a half. An hour from West Palm.
West Palm Beach. Okay, so yeah, South
North.
Florida.
We're north.
So you're our South Florida correspondent. Jeff is our North Florida correspondent. We're just going to start having a whole network of. We've got our Washington left coast hosts. Don and Leslie.
Yes.
And so we got Washington State and California covered. I'm holding up here in Oregon, and
I'm praying for you over there. Let me tell you.
yeah, send lots of prayers. And by the way, pray for Christmas because apparently Jeff Merkley sent cards out, and it's an ultra sanitized Christmas free greeting. He's the state U.S. senator from Oregon, one of our two. The other one is representing Oregon, but technically lives in New York. So we're going to need a New York correspondent at some point, I think, just to keep up with all that. But this is interesting. Someone they got a Christmas card from Jeff Merkley. Someone got it and sent it to Jason Williams of the Taxpayer Association. And it makes no mention of Christmas or holidays or Hanukkah or even season's greetings. Christmas has now been reduced to just adjectives. Next year, Merkley might describe this time as lights, gifts, and decorations. The fact that our elected leaders and our public celebrate cultural, religious traditions is a sign of society's healthy free expression. When we deculture ourselves, we lose our identity, lose our shared experiences, send messages that free speech is only what you do inside your home, where it cannot be seen by other people who may disagree. So, yep, this is the sanitized Merkley Christmas, which has more, I think, in common with, it's like the department stores that tried to get rid of Christmas.
Oh yeah.
He's a piece of work. By the way, Portland has famously expunged the word Christmas from their entire Christmas tree lighting celebration. And so when they held that, I think it was a week and a half ago, no mention of Christmas, just saving Palestine.
It was a tree lighting. And it was sad. I read about that.
Yeah.
They definitely want to remove Christ, remove Jesus, and remove anything that says Christmas and resembles that. And it's such a shame.
Which is interesting because they actually have a celebrateportland.com is a site that tries to highlight things going on in Portland, and it actually calls it the Portland Christmas tree lighting of 2025. But then immediately, all of the highlights pour in. They call it the Portland's woke tree lighting. They drop the word Christmas from it. So this is the Washington Examiner. I think that's a good one to throw in here. And but it did feature a Free Palestine chant, which I can't figure out who they're going to free Palestine from. I think they should free it from Hamas. That's what they should be. Free Palestine from Hamas. And then they can talk about, other things, I guess. But they can't move on from this because now that that war has been settled and everybody's had it with these guys, Hamas, they don't know what to do with themselves.
No, I'll tell you. I want to go back to the whole Christmas, the lack of saying Merry Christmas and Christmas tree lighting, because today, as I was driving, doing some errands, I was listening to Fox News on the radio,
Hmm.
And there was somebody, I'm sorry, I don't recall who, that was talking about there are more and more of the younger generation. What number are we on? Z now? Or, what generation number we're on now?
Yeah.
More and more are actually coming to church. And the churches are being filled with this younger generation. And it is wonderful. So,
Yeah.
despite what the left is trying to do, they're turning to God. And he said, because there is they're feeling very isolated. Today you can be on all your electronics and you're very isolated. You're not having those conversations and and being with a person in person. It's only online. And so they're feeling really lonely and they're actually turning towards the church, which is a blessing.
That's good, because if they're turning away from, say, TikTok and towards, uh, you know, uh, congregating with others in celebration of our Lord, I think that's actually quite a good step in the right direction. And I know that there's also been, like, the more people have tried to strip away tradition, some of them are kind of going back and saying, I'd like a little tradition, to be honest. Younger people. And I've been hearing that pretty consistently too. Do you know, Portland also opens itself up to satire. And I just want to share this one because this famously went around last week, and I couldn't stop laughing when I saw it. And it is satire, so just everybody know this is just satire. But it's a website called That Oregon Life, and and everybody saw. So this is actually not real. This is something they created, but it's so believable that it says everything you need to know about Portland. Like, they're gonna wish they had come up with this. And you can see the little sentence that says under the picture is Portland's former Christmas tree replacement now presented as a bold, inclusive green holiday display. And they don't, I don't know that they have to make up very much, because they say here, uh, the decision. See, at a certain point, we realized the problem wasn't the name Christmas, said one city representative. It was the tree itself. Once you take Christmas out of the tree, you're really just left with a tree. And trees carry a lot of historic baggage. So,
Especially in Oregon.
especially in Oregon. So this tree obviously has certain, you can interpret what it is and what it
Yeah.
means, but it's a quintessential Portland item for sure.
Hey, it goes along with the motto of keep Portland weird.
Yeah, keep
You know,
Portland weird.
that's Portland's motto.
Yeah, heading into the Christmas season, Portland is keeping. I wish it would just be only weird and not dangerous or
Yeah.
um, super duper woke. Because at some point, woke isn't weird anymore. It's sad. By the way, I just received this in the mail today. I don't. I guess it's the Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness,
Uh-huh.
and so I'm looking forward to checking that out. It should be fun. And I think it's Freedom Foundation was sending those out to people. So
Cool.
yeah, so that's a little bit of Christmas and Christmas season. You know, Oregon is still the place where some crazy stuff happens, but the rest of the country doesn't know it. And so there's a former Clackamas County commissioner, Melissa Fireside, who won her race very narrowly in I guess it was 2024. And she won over I'm trying to remember his name, Mark something or other, who was there for 4 years, and he was kind of a conservative firebrand on the council. Mark Scholl. Anyway, he she defeated him by a very small margin, like very small. But then she got into office, and uh, she was only in for a few months when it came out that she had been involved with a scam that was bilking, I think, some elderly people out of. So they said she coached her mother's longtime companion how to reset his bank account login, posed as a man in emails to get loans. The man, retired Safeway worker who had moved into an assisted living facility, died over the summer. In newly filed court records, American Express alleges Fireside also owes more than $11,000 in credit card debt. I guess she might have used some of it for a campaign. I think I heard that at some point. And she appeared to be living off the proceeds from her sale of her Lake Oswego home, um, according to her son's grandmother. But the real story that followed on to this is, of course, they arrested and charged her, um, and I guess released her. Anyway, she left the state, and perhaps the country. The it shows that somehow
I remember reading about her.
yeah, so she fled
Yes.
the country. It says here, Justice Department officials previously discovered Fireside had apparently left the country using what they described as fake identification and an Austrian passport. Pretty sophisticated. Fireside's travel records with the the TSA showed she had a reservation to fly from Mexico to Amsterdam in October. So, so she's somewhere floating around outside of the country, and she's been indicted. I don't know if she was actually taken into custody, but she only lasted 2 months in office. So, par for the course with Democrats. It's fine, I guess.
Another thief got elected.
Another thief got elected. Maybe she's more honest than the others because at least she fled upon being indicted. Joe Biden, he's just sitting in a chair drooling, enjoying his Chinese proceeds along with Hunter, who's the smartest man he knows. So,
hey, did you read Hunter got disbarred?
yeah, he did. Apparently, his felony.
About damn time.
Yeah, it only took forever, and who would choose him as their lawyer? Seriously.
Oh yeah.
He's a complete flake. It's like, and that 8 ball of cocaine in the White House had to have been his.
100%. Well, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yes.
What's amazing is that somebody could get that into the White House and leave it someplace, and no one could detect it, which is just weird. I just I don't know. Anyway, and here's another story, a Portland story. A meth head plows into a famous Portland clock while fleeing cops. Apparently, this meth head was driving at high speed through Portland trying to evade police. And he plowed into the famous Portland clock tower at the Lloyd Center.
Wow.
It's obliterated, and so is his car. Soft on crime gets your city messed up pretty badly. And
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So he's here. Let me see if I can display this, because then people will understand kind of where I'm going with this. That's what it looks like. It's like on a pole and has a clock on top. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised it survived this long, because almost anybody, not just a car, but some guy swinging a metal pole, probably could have easily taken that thing out too. And another guy on meth, nothing better to do, or throwing blocks of cement. They like throwing blocks of cement at women that are walking around downtown. So why not a clock tower? I don't, So anyway, this is what we're facing here, and it's taking a while. But I think we're starting to see things turn a corner maybe in this state. So we just turned in on Friday 195,000 signatures. We only need 78,000 to get the tax increase by Governor Tina Kotek's. We got the tax increase, the fee increases for DMV, and also the increase in the mass transit tax, doubling of the mass transit tax. All that's set to be referred to the ballot. I mean, they have to check the signatures, but they're going to have enough, and they're still sending more. They have until I think the 30th of December, and they can send more. And it was kind of cool because I had Ed Deal on last night, and
Mhm.
we watched the video of them. They took a horse and buggy. Did you see this?
I did. I
Yeah,
did. I saw that on Facebook, and I'll tell you, that was epic. That
yeah,
was so cool. A cool of bringing that in, Santa and the elves, and delivering 2 weeks early, no less. Way more than enough signatures to qualify for the ballot, and it's wonderful. I watched some of the videos that were there and the speeches that were given, and I will tell you, Tina Kotex did a favor to the Oregonians. By delaying signing it, she gave them 30 days to put an army together to make
yeah.
this happen.
She did.
They She did, and people were fed up, but it was so much in the not mainstream media, but social media, and it's the power of social media today that you and people being pissed off, finally pissed off about something, and it is taxes, it's the pocketbook, among other things that are going on in Oregon. So I was thrilled to see that, you know. As a property owner in Oregon, a former Oregonian, and I'm very thrilled to see that this so many people from it was a nonpartisan issue. People are fed up. Oregon has a spending problem. They do not have a taxing problem. It is so mismanaged, and it was exciting. But what isn't is the possible shenanigan of moving when that would be on the ballot.
I think they will either move it to a special election in March or May, probably May, and then they will. The other shenanigan we talked about is that they can actually just repeal the taxes they passed and turn around and pass other taxes, and it resets the clock. But I think that just will tick people off.
Yeah.
So I think they're working right now with their diabolical scheme.
Yes.
The
Yes, that's yes.
uh, the Doctor Evil that's advising them is no doubt figuring out what they're going to do and try to create some peril but they're not going to let it just go to the November ballot, I
No.
believe, because it's too much danger for Democrats.
Well, it is, and this is a governor's election in November.
Yeah.
They don't want that because there will be a lot of turnout. And so I do believe that they are going to pull some shenanigans, but I will tell you, they're actually in a no-win situation. No matter what they do, they are just pissing off more people, more Oregonians, more voters. I understand from talking with some friends in Umatilla County and I would think that every county Republican Party that helped to gather signatures, they got more people involved and brought in an involvement into politics.
They did.
And because it did wake people up, and that is such a wonderful thing. I wish could have had this type of drive when we were trying to recall Tina Kotek twice.
I mean,
You
Kate
know,
Brown.
yeah, Kate Brown. There we
I do
go.
the same thing in reverse. I say Kate Brown when I mean Tina Kotek. That happens all the time. It's because frankly there isn't much of a difference, except I
No,
actually think that maybe it's possible that that Tina Kotek is more arrogant. Kate Brown was just like, but Tina Kotek is actually acting like she can just tell everybody what to do. And I think she should keep doing that, because when you go and tell, especially working class people, suck it up,
right,
suck it up,
right.
buttercups. It's just like, well, I think that's not going to work out for her, and they should get to know the real Tina Kotek. I don't want this happy face. I love Oregon. I'll do anything to take it, because she's just got a massive record of failure. I mean, she said she was going to build 35,000 dwellings a year. It's like at 11,000. It's at a 10-year low. And the chief obstacle is almost entirely within her control. It's the government itself. The government is standing in the way of what she says is the top priority of her government. And the worst thing about it is, as we saw from, the meth head crash there, what good is it going to be to give that guy a house? Seriously. I mean, a guy who does that with a car, does he need a house? Is that going to solve everything? Or should he maybe find his way to being compelled into treatment? And right
Yeah.
now, they still don't have a way to compel people into
No.
treatment. It's Measure 110
No,
light.
they removed the way to compel people into treatment.
They removed it, and what they brought back when they technically recriminalized it was they turned it into an optional, what they call deflection,
Yeah.
where it doesn't even go on your record. There's no, sort of Damocles hanging over your head if you don't. You just kind of, this is non-obligated. You can go into like short-term deflection, which basically means you go dry out for a few days and head back out in the streets and get back to the fentanyl and the meth,
Hmm.
and do crime, which they seem to be able to do with impunity. Giving that person a house is just not the answer. And there is a shortage of housing, but then when they lock up all this property, so and with land use laws and permitting and
If they
fee,
got rid of the illegals that are occupying Oregon, it would free up housing.
yeah,
There wouldn't be a housing shortage. And to have Tina Kotek say, we have to fix these problems, let's not forget, she was in the legislature for so many years. She helped create the problems that Oregon has. And that has got to be hammered home to people that, wait a minute, to help educate the voters. This is a woman who was in leadership in the Democrat Party for decades, and she has written the legislation for the problems that we have today that enabled previous Democrat governors. You
yes,
know,
she is the author of our problems.
she is 100%. And that cannot be drilled home enough, because there isn't any problems that she wants to fix. Government can be, the issues can be fixed. Look at how fast Trump is working, and if the Democrats and even some of the Republicans would work with him, there could be so much more done for our nation. And it shows that when you have the will and the backbone and the legislation working with you, how much can be done and in a very short amount of time.
I know. Yeah, and the battle against the Trump administration seems to be all consuming for the Democrats,
Yeah.
but they're really just hurting Oregon. They're missing a great opportunity to help Oregon out of the self-inflicted problems that it's created. And and they figure, I think they're so arrogant that they figure it's all smoke and mirrors anyway. We'll just say and do whatever we want, and the people in Oregon will just elect us again. You know, I think that the hope that won't happen is what's going to happen with repealing this gas tax, and then all the things they do to sort of throw salt in the eyes of people who are struggling in this state with, and I'm talking about people who are struggling who didn't run across the border in the last 5 years.
Right.
People who have
Right.
actually been here for a long time, that are legitimate citizens of the country and of the state. And there are some issues, like, for instance, the manufacturing sector. There's a headline here: Oregon unemployment numbers, which are like a full percentage point above the rest of the country, is the drag on the unemployment numbers is manufacturing. Well, I remember learning about maybe 3 or 4 months ago two things. One, they hate manufacturing. They've been trying to get rid of it by essentially regulating it and taxing it out of existence.
Yeah.
All the climate stuff that they did is try to make it impossible to do business here. And several heavy industries have taken them up on this by leaving. Daimler Benz has the truck production facility here. They've reduced their people. Intel, I mean, they say they want to make this a Silicon Valley paradise. They call it the Silicon Forest. Not happening because they decided to go to Ohio when nobody returned their phone call for a year. They're complete morons. Well, the other thing I learned about manufacturing, guess what sector of employment has exceeded manufacturing in the state of Oregon as a percentage of total uh, employment? What would you say is probably the fastest growing industry in Oregon?
Drugs.
No. Well, yeah, yes and no, but that's not the one. But that would be under farming. So and I haven't looked to see how much that sector has grown, farming and distribution. No, this is a sector that's literally fueled by government money.
Data
It's
centers.
no, but that's a good one to mention. They don't want to build any more data centers here because we've so screwed up our power grid
Oh,
that
yeah.
once a positive thing where you can come and get cheap, reliable, renewable electricity from hydroelectric, they've been shutting down dams and getting rid of all the other backup options. So those guys are starting to say, I don't know about coming to Oregon. No, this one, you could say Oregon might be the king of this. It is the nonprofit sector. It literally has turned in, and guess what? All these nonprofits that are out there doing all this woke garbage, doing climate justice and paying people six figures to go be executive directors of entities that do absolutely nothing for homeless people, but or drug addiction, while we're 50th in the country in treatment. It's nonprofits. So when the nonprofit sector, which is really quasi government funded,
That's called shadow government.
it is. It's an unaccountable branch of government.
It
But when
is.
it's larger than the manufacturing sector, who's paying for all this? And
Right.
it's not the federal government anymore because the federal government have cut off that money. So
Thank God.
thank God. Yeah, exactly. And there's real hope now, I believe, that we can turn a corner. Um, and so when I look across some of the headlines that are here in the state, there's a battle over what's going to happen with Medicaid, where able-bodied adults must work or lose food stamps that affect 37,000 Oregonians. Let's see how this works out. Because you know what would happen if those people started working? They would probably start paying taxes.
You
And
think?
that you can see
Yes.
there would be more tax revenue, and they still get their SNAP benefits and their Medicaid. But in a state where they can't seem to find people to fill a bunch of jobs in many parts of the state, how about if they have to work because they can? So and these guys are hemming and hawing and screeching. Guy from Partners for a Hunger Free Oregon say these are just cuts to take food away from people. No, it's not. All you have to do at absolute minimum is volunteer for 20 hours a week.
There you go.
Now, if the nonprofit sector is the fastest growing sector in the state and it exceeds manufacturing, they can't tell me they can't find a way to give a volunteer job to every one of these people. Seriously.
Well, yes. And so I'll tell you, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how many people actually end up getting off of the welfare programs that should never have been there in the first place. And when we go again, I'll just say to the illegals, and Oregon as being a sanctuary state, that's one of the things that's bleeding the state dry. in rising medical costs because of trying to take care of them, feeding, housing, and medical. And, it's our taxpayer dollars that shouldn't be going to those people. When you say illegal alien, they've broken the law coming here. And I welcome foreigners to come in, but they have to do it lawfully. Get in line like everybody else. Like members of my family had to get in line, and I really love what Trump is doing, and the department heads are, and yet states like Oregon are trying to do everything they can. Like Lori just mentioned, Tobias Reed says, "Oh no, we're not going to give, our voter records to Trump and anybody." Well, hello, it's federal law. It is federal law, and for federal elections, they have to do it. And so, wow, NGOs are the coming in to be the highest employer.
Well, who's going to pay for it? Because NGOs are nonprofits; they're not paying taxes.
No.
Now, maybe their employees are, but there's certainly if NGOs are being funded by taxpayers, then I think it's a net loss for us to be paying people to work in nonprofits that don't do what they're supposed to do and earn a bunch of money and then pay some. It's like you lose 2/3 of every dollar that on nothing, on stuff that's just not making any of the state better.
Yeah.
And but you mentioned about the SNAP benefits here, and not being able to give them to illegal immigrants. A judge, because our Oregon Attorney General spends all of his time suing the federal government along with other states.
They set aside $30 million for these lawsuits. Don't forget that.
They did because they don't have any money, and
right.
They have to raise taxes. But they said that they've sued the Trump administration, and then they've judge shopped and found some federal judge who's blocked the Trump administration from fining states for distributing SNAP benefits to refugees and asylum seekers. They are saying that they're going to do it anyway, even though it's against the big beautiful bill. It's against federal law and the rules that govern the distribution of these benefits. And I thought it was always supposed to be illegal to give money to federal benefits to foreigners. But now this judge is blocking the Trump administration from fining states for doing this. And I think in the end, when it works its way up through the court system, it pretty much always ends up affirming what the Trump administration is doing. And when they have a law that's been passed by Congress backing them up, I think it's pretty much a done deal. This is just eating up time. And they claim that the Trump administration's doing things illegal and unconstitutional. Well, wait a second. These are the guys giving money that breaks the law to illegal immigrants and asylum seekers, which thing is, we know that 95% of the people who are claiming asylum as refugees, they lose their cases and they just don't leave afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So there's millions of them waiting to be removed. So this is just like, there's lawfare going on in the background at the same time all this other stuff's going on.
I'll tell you, I'm so sick of this lawfare. I want to see some judges impeached.
Yeah,
and I want to see some lawyers disbarred that is going against our Constitution. That these things that are unlawful and going against our state or federal Constitution. I want to back up a minute. Earlier you had said, I have a lot of, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I want to see Oregon turn around.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the people fired up. But when you have such strong unions in the state of Oregon, and the unions is who's funding the Democrats, then you have Oregon is Democrat judges everywhere. I will not say that it's 100%, but it is 95. I would definitely say probably 95% of the judges. It's lawsuits that are brought in our state to challenge some of these things statewide. The judges just shut it down. The Supreme Court of Oregon shuts it all down. And so therefore, the people in Oregon are fighting that bureaucracy as well. Not just the legislatures, but the court systems are not in our favor, which is why the going to federal court might be the answer. And I pray that it is, for the lawsuits that are going on regarding voting in the state of Oregon, because that's part of that uphill battle. When you have so much Democrat money that is going after, that is backing the Democrat candidates in the state of Oregon. And let's not forget, frankly, Oregon is like the socialist experiment for the nation. It's one of the few states that are, if we can get this passed in Oregon, so goes it, it can go on somewhere else. I mean, look at the whole.
It's like a cancer that metastasizes,
Yes. Yes.
And it's usually a George Soros backed group that tries to get it going in Oregon. And then once it takes root and it grows, then it metastasizes to other states. You hear, well, we're going to do this great idea they got in Oregon. What a wonderful idea. By the way,
like mail-in voting.
Yes, that's one of them. And Ed Deal said that the 40% of the state budget, it's doubled in 10 years. 40% of the state all funds budget is just the Medicaid and SNAP expansion that they've done. We have so many people, I think 1 in 3 adults or something are on this stuff.
Wow.
And it's not sustainable.
It is not.
And it's not going to be paid for to this extent anymore by the feds, which means that Oregon is going to have to choose between trying to tax everybody into destruction and send our economy into deeper problems, or start to change what's being done. And by the Oregonians changing that, I mean voters are going to have to change it, because I don't expect Tina Kotak's and her band of merry tax and spenders are going to back off funding DEI and stuff. They're just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. But Tina Kotek has a plan she came out with called the Prosperity Roadmap. She revealed it on November 19th. And here's what it consists of. It's an executive order on reducing gas emissions and advancing Oregon's clean energy future. That's it. Which is not prosperity. That's anti-prosperity. It costs money.
I'll tell you, the Democrats always come up with very clever titles, and they always are exactly opposite of what it says. It does the exact opposite of what they say.
You know what it is by looking at whatever they call it and know that it's the opposite. Yeah. And they also are blaming everything that's going wrong, including the state's projected budget shortfalls, on the Trump administration. Now, there is one thing that they are saying is the Trump administration's fault, which is the big, beautiful bill that passed. It actually reduced the taxable income because the federal and the state taxable income are connected. Like if they reduce what you can tax in terms of income at the federal level, it reduces that same at the state level. And 3 of the items that they've reduced are taxes, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, and no taxes on Social Security up to a certain amount. And that's going to cost $800 million for the state. And they're saying, well, that's hurting that's hurting Oregon. It's like, no, the government of Oregon is not the economy of Oregon.
No.
And this money is going to
they want it to be, though.
They want it to be, but this money will go into the pockets of the people who are actually in the economy that pays for the government. And so they're completely it's lunacy. They don't understand even the system that they say they want more of. They don't understand how it's paid for. And so now we've got this idiotic plan, which is is prosperity. It's not even prosperity for the government, because clean energy is what is expensive energy, and it's not reliable. There's
And it's
no,
not clean.
it's not clean in many cases, and it kills a lot of birds and messes with whales offshore, and it does all kinds of stuff like that. But worst of all, it is, as a form of energy, not only not reliable, but it's dependent on government subsidies. So it's not even solvent. And all of the things that are used to produce these clean energy items, they aren't produced in Oregon. They're produced in China. You want to buy a solar panel? It's going to be made in China. You want to buy a parts of a windmill? It's going to be made in China. Some of it's made in Europe, but it's not made here. So why is that prosperity for us?
Yeah.
So I think maybe people are going to notice the insanity, and it is insanity. By the way, here's a little piece of insanity. You're talking about ICE, and you were talking about illegal immigrants and how they're occupied. I know for a fact that 700 of them from Guatemala showed up in, I think it was 2022. They just showed up one day in Cottage Grove, Oregon, and occupied all of the low income housing.
Yeah.
And they were getting money from the federal government to do it, right? And suddenly there's no low income housing in Cottage Grove, which led to a low income housing crisis and more people that couldn't find affordable housing there. And so literally they created a worse problem of something they said was a crisis already. Well, this is a guy in Lane County, and this is to put it on your radar. This is coming next. This guy is named Sam Cook. He wrote an opinion piece that's in a publication called Look Out Eugene Springfield. It's a local focused publication, and he says Lane County workers must organize for their immigrant neighbors. He's literally saying that stop wasting time on protests and go out and actually interfere, impede ICE's attacks on their immigrant neighbors. And this is, he's saying that the workers, which I guess he means the unions and the Democrat Party, he's calling them out and saying they're just failing to do a good enough job interfering with federal law enforcement. I hope he tries to interfere with federal law enforcement, because the one thing that he can be sure of is that he may not be able to write as many of these columns from federal prison, because interfering with ICE enforcing federal law is a felony.
Yes. Yes, it is. I'll tell you, I applaud ICE. I applaud everything Tom Homan's doing and the efforts on behalf of all of our immigration, our border patrol, everything like that. It's because we had an invasion. We have been invaded. The Biden administration allowed an invasion into our country.
They organized it.
They did, and many other countries helped as well. It was well funded, and many people had spoke about it and tried to blow the whistle and raise awareness about it. UNRWA, what is that? UNWRA.
Yep.
And many are helped to funnel the people directly to America, and they're not vetted, and it's not the best and the brightest. Some of them might be, but the majority aren't. I mean, all of us have witnessed the videos of, this is all a whole bunch of Chinese single military-aged men. These are, coming from Africa. This is not just from Central and South America. It was people from all over the world that were coming here and very much aided. And we have been invaded, and they have to be removed. They have to be removed. It's unsustainable in the United States. We have land, but financially, We cannot afford, because they're on the dole. There was something that I had seen in the last few days that they had put up oh, I shouldn't even be talking about it, but I'm going to just a little since I don't have the figures. But they said like a national average of, excuse me, how many people was maybe 15% of Americans were on some sort of assistance. But of that, there was something like, if it was 15% of Americans that were on it, it was 38% were foreigners that were on some sort of public benefit.
Yep.
And so those that are illegal are definitely more using the social services of every state, not just Oregon. And oh yeah, and the jobs that they're taking. You want to know why wages haven't gone up? It's because they're working for less wages.
Yeah,
It's
which I
one of
don't
the things.
understand how unions can be for that, because unions are constantly trying to make sure that, wages are paid of some high level to their members. Well, this inevitably undermines those wages. I
Well,
don't
the
even.
unions have also allowed the jobs to be shipped out of America. So the unions have not been for the American worker when they supported NAFTA and other programs that have shipped the jobs out of America. The unions, quite frankly, and I'm not anti-union, but things have changed. Things have changed so much. Look at who endorsed Trump.
Yeah,
You know,
I
they
think the
either made no endorsement or they actually endorsed Trump, the
well, and
union.
that's because the rank and file people in those unions
Yes,
are voting for them. They're working class people who feel like they're getting the shaft from the elite, um, college educated, focused, woke, often white, um, Democrats whose loyalty is to hedge fund managers on the East Coast and high tech executives and Hollywood on the left coast. And when did the Democrat Party decide that they were for outsourcing jobs out of the United States? When did they cross that line? Because I remember years ago they used to fight in tooth and nail against it. They didn't like free trade agreements. They were for tariffs. And I think the moment that all of this changed is the moment that President Trump came in and started talking about how we needed to uh, reinvigorate our manufacturing and our domestic businesses so that they could be the ones exporting even that playing field that was desperately unfairly against us, and started imposing tariffs. Suddenly Democrats were like, tariffs are terrible. And I'm like, I can show them video of them actually saying it was, but it's like showing a video of Chuck Schumer demanding that we have a wall on the border in 2009. I mean, I don't,
right.
they're unrecognizable as a party
It's true.
anymore. And so they've lost it, and I think they don't know that they've lost it. However, they are trying to see if they can't skew the next election with lies and distortions, and this is going to be a challenge, I'm afraid. We're going to have to keep fighting. I think a lot of people can become complacent
Yes.
and think that the world is saved. In Florida, actually, in Miami, there's a
Oh,
Democrat that got
yeah.
elected mayor, and that's a concern.
It is a concern. Super low voter turnout, super low. And that's how, every election counts. Every damn election counts, no matter what it is. And voters must turn out and vote. So here you have, I mean, what is it? The first Democrat mayor in 30 or 40 years, I think, in Miami. It's like, hello, people. Hello.
Yeah, it can happen, and it's often done. It's accomplished through apathy and complacency of the people who did vote in 2024 and
Yes.
change the trajectory of the country, and then they go home and they're like, it's just
Somebody else will do it.
somebody else will save the country for me. And you know what? They're not. That's why we have to do things like vote. We have to support, we have to donate to candidates. We actually have to go and volunteer for them. We have to
Yes,
actually do that little bit of extra because,
true.
I mean, people sacrificed a lot more than a little bit of their time and money to get the country to be a place where we have this freedom. And the sacrifices sometimes were the ultimate sacrifice. And all we have to do is maybe lift a finger to go and back candidates that are doing the right things. And, it was interesting to see the news that the FBI apparently warned the Department of Justice during the Biden administration that the raid on the Trump home had not been corroborated and they lacked probable cause for doing it, which means that unless we go and we fix these things, it can't
Yep.
be done just by the executive. Congress has to be a part of this. They have to, and we have to have a judiciary which will stand up for the law too, just like you
Yes.
were talking about before. We have to fix the whole thing,
Yes.
or the next President Otto Penn will do this or worse.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I think there's going to be the people we don't particularly care for that are leading the Democrats are going to be replaced by much worse versions. Actually, like
Yes.
AOC is not an improvement upon Chuck
Mhm.
Schumer.
No, not at all. Not at all. And, I mean, look at what's Mondami, who's going to be the, mayor of New York City now. This is exactly what we're talking about, in the complacency of the people turning out. And we have to vote. And now I was listening on the radio today as I was driving, doing some errands. They plan on putting out Kamala Harris for 2028. And I went, well, bring it on.
Yeah,
Bring
I
it
actually
on. Oh,
that's really
good.
good news. That's very good news. I hope that that the Democrats continue to think that's a good idea because
Yes.
it's about as boneheaded as they get. Um, but I also think that they can get away with some of this stuff if we don't show up, if we don't pay attention. If
And if
we,
we don't get our voter rolls cleaned up.
yeah, that's right, and that's why this battle that you were just talking about.
Hmm.
It was Tobias Reed. Yes, I think it was Lori that said this. I received a text message from him somehow. I don't know. I didn't sign up for any lists to hear from Tobias Reed, but he sent a text message to me that is explaining how he's fighting the Trump administration to prevent the Trump administration from getting a hold of confidential voter records. And I'm like, you're in charge of confidential voter records. The problem is, we know you're not making sure that there aren't illegal, ineligible voters on the rolls. And how do we know that? Why did they shut down DMV automatic voter registration uh, a week before the voter registration deadline in 2024? Answer: they found hundreds of people who were illegal immigrants that had and many had voted that were on the rolls. And then they
Yes.
discovered 50,000 people they couldn't find any record or proof that they were citizens, which
Yes.
often means that they aren't. And
Yes.
so we should be checking that. And as you said, it's federal law. So let's see what happens. Good. Tell Tobias Reed that, and let's tell him at the ballot box, because actually they're not going to. I do think that there is value at times of sending emails and making phone calls and sending
Mhm.
messages to these guys but they're not going to listen to anything but what do they say? Don't get mad, get even at the
Yes.
ballot box.
Yes.
And the first vote that you get to cast is the vote that you is what you do to help a candidate. It can be a donation. It can be um, uh, signing up to support them when it comes time to volunteer. That's the first vote. Is you boost the people that are going to do the right thing now. So next year we are competitive, and in Oregon we should be. I mean, you can't beat something with nothing.
No, no, you can't. And so I would like to know how many people now have filed so far to run for governor, Republican governor in Oregon.
I was going to check that because there was somebody who posted an opinion piece recently that talked about running for governor, except I'd never heard of him. He's like a business guy that used to work for Chevron.
Hmm.
He was kind of attacking both Drazen and Kotek, but I never heard of him. So you know what? I'll just look that up because
And I heard Chris Dudley is saying he's going to run again.
he's been talking about it. I don't know if he is, but he hasn't quashed the rumors, and he has been
Right.
doing things that make him look like a candidate lately, which means he might run. But look,
But
there are that would make at least three major candidates on the Republican side, and so they must believe it's winnable. You wouldn't have this many people competing to do it, but it does mean you got to be discerning about what happens, with all of this. You just can't assume that everything's going to take care of itself, that you can just wait for your ballot to show up in November. Get
right,
involved now.
right. You have to frankly start vetting candidates now before the primary so that you know who's who. Something I never met Chris Dudley. He ran for governor before I moved to Oregon, and but I heard about him. And when he did not win his the election, he left Oregon and went back to California. So
He was,
my question is, where has he been all this time? Has he come back to Oregon, or he just decided, or did somebody say, "Hey, Chris, go throw your hat in the ring again. Look, we'll be another like Betsy Johnson." Throw it. Is that what this is? I wonder. And so I'm actually asking that question because I don't know. But in my mind, being around the politics for a number of years in Oregon, that's what I was thinking about. Going, I don't know him, and why would he now run again? I don't know.
I don't know. I remember that he lived in Bend at some point, but then also California. And I just want to know that people have been in the fight and they're still in the fight. That really matters.
Yeah,
And so they're going to have to explain, like, you just can't sit around and wait for a long time. You really have to be out. I'll be honest. I actually think Ed Deal would be the best candidate for governor, and on the Republican side. And he said he doesn't want to run. He said that, but uh, when I look at what he's doing, I think he'd be fabulous. Actually, articulate, well organized, smart. But look, we can only vote for the candidates that actually choose to file. Your
true.
question was who has filed. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Republicans have filed. The two most prominent ones that I've even heard of are Christine Drazen and Danielle Bethel. I've seen some of the other names, but anybody
They're perennial. I've seen a couple of them, and they're perennial candidates.
yes,
They just run to say, yes, I ran for governor. I ran for governor.
yeah,
you know?
but they really aren't doing anything to advance. What have they held office? Have
Right.
they done anything else to get their name ID up? Are they raising money? And by and large, that's not the case. Now on the Democrat side, Tina Kotek's not filed yet. She'll probably file here in the new year or something.
Yeah.
But I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Democrats have filed, and I don't know any of them. So, which means that they're nobodies too. And rinse and repeat. That's what what has happened here.
Right.
But it does mean that we have that once these candidates are getting out there in front of folks and going to debates and stuff like that, attend them, ask them questions, pay attention, because that's what you're going to get in November is whatever you pay attention to now.
True.
So, well, anyway,
you know what? And you can call them up. You can call the candidates up and talk to them. Yep. You don't have to wait for them to come to your area. Reach out to them. If you're wanting to vet people running, make a list of a bunch of questions and get a hold of them. And you're right that you need to get behind candidates and be involved, and because that is how we get to know who's running, to wanting to win the top slot in Oregon, or in your district that you live in. There's good candidates running in a few other places that I've seen as well. And so it's important. It's
It
so
is.
important.
People shouldn't complain about their choices in the general election if they didn't shape them earlier in the process in the primary. Um,
Yeah.
and because but you have that power in Oregon. You have that power. There's plenty of opportunity. So, but just I know that we kind of are at the hour mark here, and I know it's later there, and I really appreciate you joining in again, Sonny, and it's great to have you back
Hey,
here.
it's fun to be back.
And
Thank you.
what is happening in Florida? Is there anything, just on your end, either personally or just politically, because you kind of watch what's happening now there?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm so enjoying this here very much. I'm enjoying the weather. I'm enjoying being in a area with a state that has law and order. And everywhere has problems. You'll never get away from that. And in fact, there's an election locally that's a local runoff for city council positions, and that's a good thing, right? You have it, and so I have made contact with the local Republican Party, but truthfully, Kevin, I'm on vacation. I need a break, and I'm doing some work that needs to be done on our house here, and taking care of my husband and my mom, and just enjoying it. We live on the Treasure Coast,
Hmm.
and it's so nice. I'm seeing what's going on. Oh my heavens. You guys are getting this atmospheric river, the
Yeah.
first one you have, and now it's coming again. And in fact, we have some property in Yakima. So I was talking with our property manager last week and said, "Hey, do we need to sandbag anything over there?" And I'll be calling
Yeah.
him this actually tomorrow to just say, "Hey, how's everything going?" Because I'm seeing up in Seattle and up in Washington, they've had levees fail, and rivers are just jumping their banks, record breaking water in
Yeah.
flooding areas. Are you guys okay over there where you're at?
Totally fine here, but I
Good.
think it's going to ramp up here soon. We did get a little spoiled. We had a couple of weekends where it was 60, almost 70 degrees and sunny in December.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of feel like whatever's coming is probably we now deserve it, because the only question is, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's going to get cold enough, because when it rains this much, it usually doesn't get cold enough to turn into anything like snow or frost. So it's just going to be a ton of rain. And there are people worried in certain pockets of the state
Yeah.
about the volume of rain that's coming down. I saw an article about out on the coast, the Siletz tribe is in areas, low-lying areas they're concerned about on the South Oregon coast. But up in Washington State, they really got hit hard and had
Bad.
a levee break, as I
Yes.
saw.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's hey, Merry Christmas, Lori, and Merry Christmas to you too, Kevin.
Thank
It
you.
has
Yep.
been I don't know, it was 70 degrees today. It was 62, I think, when I woke up, uh, and we are having our when you buy property, I'll give you a little tip. When you buy a home, or any property for that matter, uh, do a lot of inspections. Do a
Mm.
lot of inspections so you know what you're getting into. Well,
Yeah.
one of our inspections was of the septic system, because we're out in the country and it's on a well and has a septic tank. And so, sure enough, the leach line failed in the inspection. Went, okay, now we know, right? Well, let me tell you, it dropped the price quite a bit. And so today, they finally were working on that.
Hmm.
And it's taken a little while to get things happening. And as you know, like we had closed on escrow, stayed for a little while, and then we went back to Oregon. And I didn't want anything going on while we weren't there. And I'm glad I didn't, because of some other issues that we came up with, or problems that we weren't quite aware. Nothing major. It's just I don't want to have to do the work twice. So I was very happy to finally have this crew out here and fixing the leach line. That's what they're
Hmm.
doing. Putting a new leach line in, and it's interesting. It's gigantic, and because I've never seen a leach line that size at all. But it's I guess how they do things here in Florida. It's a
Well, they
little
do.
bit different.
Yeah, and they do have things like, like hurricane, storm surge, and tropical rains and stuff. So you got to have a system that does its job really, really well.
Yeah.
And you're just being proactive. So that's really good.
Yes. So we're that's one of the projects. And my landscape guy came by today, and he says, "Wow, there's a lot going on back there." And I said, "Yes, it's just the beginning," because we have some other things that are going to be coming along. But we're very much enjoying it, enjoying the local wildlife a little bit.
Hmm.
That we have lots of squirrels, and I've seen a few raccoons, and
Nice.
then the birds. So many birds. Yellow belly sapsuckers. It's a bird I heard of, but I didn't know what it looked like.
Yeah, it
Looks like a red-headed woodpecker.
sounds like something out of a Harlequin novel that takes place in the South or something.
Yeah.
It's like we went out looking for yellow-bellied sapsuckers.
Right? So I asked a guy who was here, I go, "Oh, look at that red-headed woodpecker," because it's a woodpecker. I could tell it's in that type of family. And he goes, "Oh, that's a yellow-bellied sapsucker." But today I saw a big woodpecker. I don't know, it's like this big. It was a red-headed woodpecker. And anyway, lots of birds, lots of birds. And
Nice.
yeah, yeah, we're enjoying. So I am definitely in still decompressing, but enjoying life, and um, go to the beach occasionally.
Nice. I'm so glad to hear that. And I think you're in a state where you have a lot less to worry about in terms of the mess that's being created by politicians, and vigilance, right?
Yes.
But I do think that the mess that's been created might be something that in other states you don't have to worry about as much in Florida.
No, and I'll tell you, the governor, Ron DeSantis, he's being so proactive in so many areas of common sense, regarding vaccines, and stopping the spraying, by the airplanes. Just so many things. It's really wonderful. It's refreshing, and it's wonderful. It truly is. And Kevin, I'll tell you, thank you for having me tonight. I really appreciate it. I'll come back anytime. And it's Lori, it's wonderful to see you, read you. I don't get to see you, but to, see you here. And I'm still follow along on social media. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks for being on, Sunny, and our South Florida correspondent, with the latest report of sunshine and bird sightings. All right. Love it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And thanks everyone for watching. Share it with everyone you can. Let them know we have Sunny back on occasion to share with us what's happening and to talk about what's going on in Oregon and reflect on it. It's a great time of year to let folks know that there's more information and infotainment to be found right here on the Captive Audience. Thanks, and have a great night, all.